こ抜かれてあなただけについてゆく。今日も運ぶ戦う増える、そして食べられる。ほったかされてまたって投げられて、でも私たちあなたに従い尽くします。そろそろ遊んじゃおうかな。そっと出かけてみようかなんて。あの空に恋とかしながら、いろんな命が生きているこの星で、今日も運ぶ戦う増える、そして食べられる。引っこ抜かれて集まって飛ばされて、でも私たち愛してくれとは言わないよ。そろそろ遊んじゃおうかな。もっと頑張ってみようかなんて。あの空に恋とかしながら、力合わせて戦って食べられて、でも私たちあなたに従い尽くします。立ち向かって黙ってついてて、でも私たち愛してくれとは言わないよ。
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the stream, everybody. That old guy was first and said hello. Hello, that old guy. Welcome in. Throwin says, darn it, second. Oh, next time, Throwin, you'll get it next time. And Stick says third. And also says, hi. Hello, Stick. And there's a mud there, too. How are you? We're going to be doing some Twisted today. You know how it is. We're going to do some Twisted today.
I like Twisted.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. That old guy, are you Duolingo?
Does Vargas like Twisted though?
Who?
What?
Did you do your Duolingo yet?
I'm doing Duolingo.
We got a sickly cookie guy today, so treat him with care.
Yes, be gentle. Yeah.
Why are you sickly, Codes?
Got 3 vaccines yesterday.
That's crazy.
Good thing you didn't have to work today.
Yes, I was very grateful.
Throlin says, real
Twisted
question
to
is
wonder.
that old guy going to play me an 8-ball anytime soon?
Oh,
What do you have to
I
say?
didn't want to invite him. I didn't want to keep sending invites and just have it be on me only. That makes it feel like he's just playing because he's just being nice.
Yeah.
In stock! Thank you, こう慎重にね。Thank you! ほか
Thank you!
all right. I'm going to go open the stream on my laptop. I didn't even know we were streaming until you said hello.
You didn't get the
Hey,
notification?
トミちゃん欲しいものが見当たらない。
No.
このサムにお任せを。
I mean, I
手元にご用意します。
go yoishimasu.
Throlin says, it's because I get first shot when you send the game. Throlin has a strategy.
Ah.
Well, I'm just saying. I didn't want to keep bugging him. So, if he wants to play, I'll have to send it next time. Then I'll send him one. Even if he wins.
Can you believe up until last night, Throlin didn't know about 1980 something Teen Wolf?
Uh-huh.
Right, like I
Really?
showed it because I was wanting to show him the origin of when we say "Geez, Louise,"
Uh-huh.
and so like and then I showed him the scene, and his first reaction was Back to the Future.
Yep. That makes sense to think that.
All right, I got my laptop open. No internet. Let's play the Dino game with the no internet.
Yes.
Dude. Whoever made that game should make it like a game to buy on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh. Yeah. Marty McFly.
Ooh, I just beat my-
Yes, Throlin gets it. Back to the Future. Yes, he was indeed a wolf at one point, believe it or not. Pretty crazy stuff. Pretty crazy stuff. That's all I'm gonna say.
儚く弱い存在が結びついて歴史を織り上げるか
Okay. Is everyone ready?
ようやく理解できた気が
I
する
am
I'm ready.
time traveling werewolf. Quite the resume, right? Werewolf. There we go. Oh, Throlin. Look, Grim is help. Help?
Oops.
儚く弱い存在が結びついて
Okay.
歴史を
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Can you do Camp Throlin?
They don't have a Camp Throlin.
Oh.
Okay.
Why did you heart them all?
Those are unhearted.
You should heart them. Especially because it's Hearts Labule.
That sickly man. Can you read the title?
Just those clubs. Hear me?
Yes, you did good. Hearts Labule.
Arts Labial Dorm
No,
Lounge.
don't listen. That's the incorrect
Arts Labule.
pronunciation.
Arts Labial
Hearts
Dorm
Labule.
yeah, Lounge.
You just sound like, oh, okay. It's you, Codes.
Finally back from that nightmare camp. I Every muscle in my body is sore, and all my joints are cracking. I want to sleep for 100 years. That wasn't some nice jaunt in the woods. It was a full-on training camp. Why'd the sports club get singled out for it anyway?
I didn't get a wink of sleep last night. I think it's starting to catch up.
Yeah.
Pitiful the both of you. It was only 3 days and 2 nights.
Welcome back, boys. How was camp?
You all look exhausted. Was it that bad?
Not really. I'd have no right to be in an athletic club if that was enough to make me throw in the towel.
Maybe it was fine for you, Riddle.
But us two had to fight a monster. That's big time.
Hello, Aru. Who up? Twisted Day Wonderland. That's what we're up to tonight. All three of us. I got Fastra and Dat Cookie Guy, aka Quasimodo Football and Dat Cookie Guy. Oh, Fastra, hello. Oh, she's twisting her Wonderland. Yep.
Yeah, I'm raising my hand to show I'm not. Yeah.
Yep. You know it, Aru.
Cookie Guy, can you say really?
Will Quasimodo be in the Super Bowl on Sunday? Ooh. Imagine. For the halftime show, he sings his song. I've spent one day out there. And then he throws a home run. Yeah, I will be tuned in to see if Quasimodo's in the Super Bowl. That would make sense. Like he's seen a lot of success recently, so I think it would just make sense to see Quasimodo in the Super Bowl, and he might even get a touchdown. I mean, he's pretty good, and he's the only one in the NFL who can wield 2 footballs at once. So that also gives him a huge advantage because he can throw one way, throw one the other way. He can do anything he wants. Quasimodo should twist his Wonderland in the Super Bowl. That's a good point. That's
I agree.
A good point. I mean, because Quasimodo is a direct tie-in with Twisted Wonderland, so that would be perfect. I mean, he was able to twist his Wonderland to become a transparent PNG background Quasimodo football. That's what Fastra is right now. So, yeah, definitely that would go perfect with it. Fit like a glove. Don't listen to them. They're so tired, they probably just saw a wild animal and thought it was a monster. Ace especially. Coach Vargas ran him through the ringer all weekend because he skipped out on an assignment.
It's not entirely false. Well, good workout there. Regardless, just rest up today and take it easy.
Good thing I'm in an arts club. I don't think I could deal with Coach Vargas watching me all the time.
No kidding. Ace and Deuce normally have so much energy, and look at them now. We'd have a rough time for sure.
We totally bought a monster, but I guess no one believes us.
Man, why didn't the arts club have to go? There, that only the sports club had to suffer.
Let's just get back to our room, Ace.
Yeah, he's cutting
I'm
out.
gonna-
Let's just get back to our room.
I'm gonna pass out any second.
A few days.
Is everyone present? The head mage has requested that all Arts Club members gather in the lecture hall.
Just those clubs? That's strange.
This is just like when they called all the sports club members together.
Wait, really? Oh no, does this mean what I think it does?
Let's just head over to the lecture hall and point the fingers that were wrong.
Do you think they're wrong?
I don't know.
I hope so.
I think they're making a pretty educated guess, so they might be right. But then again, it does not compute. Oh yes, you love Coach Vargas too. Did you see that thing where it was like someone was like saying something against Azul, and then it was like a video of an octopus getting all like cooked and served?
No.
So I saw a tweet on my feed of it was like Azul has made me angry or something like that, and then it was a video of like an octopus, and they were like preparing his fancy dish with it.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you.
Does not compute.
Does not compute.
Lecture hall.
Are all the arts clubs present? It's time for roll call. Pop music club's all here.
What's this all about anyway? We don't usually get together with the other arts clubs like this. I don't know for sure, but I've got a sneaking suspicion. I think you're probably right, and I, for one, am rather excited. Am I the only one who doesn't know what's up?
There he is. The last of the board game club members just arrived. I can't deal with these early morning assemblies.
That's gonna be you tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm not even done collecting my daily login bonuses. Why are we here again? I have a good idea, though I hope I'm wrong.
All Mountain Lovers Club members are present, meaning me.
And the Film Research and Science Club?
We're all present and accounted for. Science Club also just finished taking roll. We're good.
Excellent. I believe that's everyone.
Hello, I'm here now. Did the Gargoyles Studies Club miss roll call?
I mean, now that's everyone.
Headmage totes forgot about Malleus, huh?
Let's get the orientation started, shall we? Coach Vargas, take it away.
Huh? The coach? Okay, kids, listen up! Night Raven College doesn't just have stellar sports clubs. We've also got Crackerjack Arts and Culture Clubs. But, are you really satisfied with the status quo? Every student here wants to be like me, a paragon of mental acuity and physical fortitude. You all want to learn in the great outdoors and hone your mind and body, right?
We're perfectly happy with what we've been doing, actually.
That's right, you do! All of you yearn to have a beefy bod like mine. Which is why I've decided to enroll you in my training program. Hold up. When you say training program, I call it Camp Vargas 2. You've got some serious sculpting to look forward to. Next week, we're going on a 3-day camping trip in the mountains. You'll be testing your mettle in the great outdoors against several special challenges I've cooked up. Anyone who surmounts these challenges will be well on their way to becoming a strapping stud like me.
It's really happening. Our own Camp Vargas. Last time they were unpersuaded by my claim that the Mountain Lovers Club counted as a sports club. But it turns out the arts clubs get to go camping as well. What a delightful miscalculation on my part.
Why were you stuttering over your words? Yes, Sebek conveyed what a rewarding experience it was. I think I'll enjoy this.
Just hope there's something to enjoy.
He's kind of like talking like through a phone. Wait, what's going on? Does not compute! The sports club members all had a training camp just a few days ago. Didn't you hear about it? No.
Oruto.
I think I know why that is, idea. Barely has any students in sports clubs. You probably never get the memo.
Oh, crud!
Well, camping sounds fun, but I don't know about it getting us in better shape. Yeah, I highly doubt you can do much sculpting in just 3 days.
For that matter, exercise every morning. Everyone here needs to get in shape.
How's your distance from yourself to the microphone?
Hydrate time on it.
Cookie guy?
Yep.
Yep.
How far are you from the microphone?
That's in my ear.
It keeps like cutting you off.
I wonder if it's like because of his location in the house, if it's like the internet, or if it's more his device. I can't tell.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe if it continues, you can try to go to the living room to see if it's the connection. It might not be, but we could see.
Okay.
Did you already read this line?
Yeah, but I'll read it again. Good morning. Oh, wait. For that matter, none of us exercise every morning, but everyone here needs to get in shape. I don't have muscles to tone. Will I still get stronger? How would that work?
Okay, pipe down! Everyone who goes through Camp Vargas 2 comes out stronger than before. No ifs, ands, or buts. Ah, the great outdoors. Training alongside everyone here sounds positively lovely. Wouldn't you agree, Trey? What's this? You're frowning. Are you concerned about something?
Hope I'm just being paranoid, but this is Coach Vargas we're talking about.
Vargas, not Vargas!
I have a feeling he won't let us off easy if we don't hit his goals.
Oh, and if any club fails to complete their challenges, all their members will be transferred to a sports club without exception. That way, you'll have my personal supervision. Sounds great, right?
What?
What? What? In what world is that great? It's pure tyranny, that's what it is. I seriously could not deal with being in a sports club full of raging extroverts.
Mandatory transfer would be unacceptable. the Mountain Lovers Club would be forced to disband due to lack of membership. As its founder, I must prevent that at all costs. After all, someone else might join one day. Got nothing against sports, but I'm not a fan of them forcing us to transfer. Agreed. I'd prefer to keep playing in our band. Not that we're much of a band, but hey.
No one's very happy about this.
Can you blame them? We all followed our hearts when we chose our clubs. Athletic clubs have their charm, but I'd much prefer to remain in the science club. We have such a good time.
Yeah, same. I've got no issues with the science club. So I don't want to have to deal with something else.
No need to worry. I don't expect you guys to be at the same level as the sports clubs. I've made the challenges easier this time around. With all the compromises I've made, you better not even think about ditching. I'm gonna be handing out a camp overview and schedule now. Make sure you actually read it! Did you hydrate, Cookie Guy?
Not lately.
Stick redeemed hydrate. Wouldn't it be cool if Stick got the Twitch username just Stick without the X's?
Mm-hmm.
Someone else took it, but they don't deserve it.
You're gonna want these. Mirror, mirror on the wall chamber.
Muds.
Camp Vargas, day 1, morning.
Could you please stop sighing, Edea? You're bringing the mood down.
He's been like this ever since the assembly. His vitals are normal, but he has elevated stress levels.
Mud took it. Oh, that's
Part of the
not,
Film Research
that's
Club.
so not right.
Oh, I
Stick. Ortho, wait! And to respond, Stick said Mud took it. That's such an injustice. I'm so sorry, but and he doesn't even use it. That's the worst part. He doesn't even use it. Proceed.
Oops.
Not you.
Give me a second.
He short-circuited when I asked him to stop in the middle of a line. It like made him crash.
Okay. I'm part of a film research club, so I should go join them now. Remember, Edea, leaving without permission, okay?
Throwin says, he gave it to me and asked me to help him figure out how to use it. Oh, did you help him, Throwin? I hope you helped him. He turned to you for help, and you seem pretty knowledgeable about the subject, so I think you'd be able to help him with that.
Is the subject stealing usernames?
Yes, nefariously.
Okay. After all, we don't get to go camping every day. You and the board game club will get to have some quality bonding time. I'll be rooting for you.
No, I didn't help him. I fell back asleep as it was 4 a.m. when he asked for my help.
Oh.
That's kind of messed up for Mud to wake you up like that, but he was really excited about it. I think that's why. No, don't leave me, Ortho! I can't do all this camping junk by myself! You'll have to pull your own weight, you know. I won't allow you to skip the challenges and just turn up for meals.
It may not be as bad as you anticipate, you know. Floyd said it was fun when I asked him.
Dude, look, Quick, you. When Floyd calls something fun, is that really a credible claim?
Oh, absolutely. You can take it from me. He as his brother. It's finally time to head out. Kaleem, do you have everything you'll need? Yep, I'm totally covered. Jamil packed for me. I got medicine for an upset stomach, a salve, disinfectant, bandages, and... Wait, what's this thing again? Leave it to Jamil to cover all the bases, huh? You've even got meds for serious emergencies. Well, you can never be too prepared. Malleus made sure to read through the camp overview this morning as a precaution. Which meant he lost track of time. He wouldn't have made it at all if I hadn't noticed. Isn't that right?
I appreciate it, Lilia. It would have been a terrible waste to do all that preparation and then miss the trip itself.
I'm looking forward to spending the next 3 days with you, Vilshonite. I'm sure your equanimity will be a great asset again. Between the board game club's moping and the music club's enthusiasm, I'm sure there'll never be a dull moment.
'Tis to be expected, Phil. It will certainly be a trip to remember. I myself am quite excited about all the beautiful things I might discover at our destination. What about you, Trey?
And I just don't want to change clubs. I'll do just enough to make sure they don't think I'm slow. Well, the fact that we had to bring our PE clothes means we'll probably be working hard.
All right. Looks like everyone's here. Time to head out, boys. Oh, Dark Mirror, guide us to our destination.
Oh,
Whoa.
it is the mirror on the wall. Oh, gingerbread cabin. Dwarf's mine, silent woods. That doesn't sound silent.
Yeah, smell that wonderful crisp air. Look at how the forest appears to stretch on forever, and how those giant mountains encircle it all. I couldn't ask for a lovelier camping spot.
Wait, isn't this where Ace and Deuce got sent after they booked the cafeteria chandelier?
So it is. Come to think of it, they said a monster attacked the back then, too. You know, this place does have a gloomy vibe, like there's something lurking around, just waiting to strike.
It's me!
It's, Coach Vargas dressed as a monster.
Whoa! Is there seriously Coach Vargas dressed as a monster?
Hey!
Hey,
Pretty sure it's Grim.
Hey!
That voice sounds too familiar to be a monster. Hey, I recognize that little guy.
Oh no.
Took you all long enough. I've been waiting here for ages.
Grim's not kidding about the wait.
It's Grim and you. What are you two doing here?
We're the record keepers, duh.
I've tasked them with log keeping and capturing your efforts with their ghost camera for posterity. They did so with the sports clubs and produced some brilliant photographs. Nice. We should take a pic now. Get over here, Bill.
I think not.
Well?
You'll just get the picture from them later and post it to the Magic Cam.
And as with our last outing, I've asked the ghosts from the local mine to assist you during the camp as well.
Ooh, hey, happy to help.
All right, everyone's here and raring to go. Camp Vargas is officially in session. But before we get to the challenges, we're going to confiscate your magical pens and cell phones. Hand them over to the head mage.
What? But then I won't be able to take selfies.
Can't we keep them to look stuff up online? I don't know the first thing about camping.
No whining! You are to overcome the challenges using only your brains and brawn.
Don't worry about pictures. We've got you covered.
Okay, but I still want to take my own, you know?
Extroverts, am I right? You don't have to document every aspect of your life. Is that a tablet I see? I'll be confiscating that too! Whoa! Ugh, this sucks. Spending 3 days in the wilderness without my tablet is like running a dungeon on a pure free-to-play account. I can live without my phone, but it stings to lose my magical pen.
Tell me about it. We can use magic without them, but that's always a danger.
Exactly! As you know, blot is a dangerous and highly toxic substance that generates when you use magic. Normally, your blood gets absorbed into the mage stones on your magical pens. But without those stones, using magic will cause blot to accumulate directly in your body. Even minor cantrips would take a heavy toll, let alone signature spells.
Rest assured, I shall return your things once Camp Vargas 2 is over.
Why are you so surprised? You have several sports members in your dorm. Didn't they tell you about all this?
Yeah, about that. I quote, telling you the particulars beforehand? Why would it? That would essentially be cheating. You're supposed to be challenged. I wouldn't dream of undermining Coach Vargas's intent. That's what Riddle said.
Ace and Deuce just grinned. They were all like, you guys can suffer like we did.
Yeah, they were real smug about it. That makes me think we're in for a real treat.
Interesting. It seems most of the sports club people chose to forego sharing details for their own amusement.
That wretched snake.
I must hand it to Floyd. He appreciates the proper way to enjoy a camping trip.
Hippo was rather smug about it himself. I supposed he had the same mentality and didn't bother asking him about anything.
It's all right. Lilia and I know little of these challenges as well, despite Silver and Sebek offering to share.
Why spoil the experience? We'll savor the thrills and surprises together.
NRC3EO4.
I'd prefer there not to be any thrills or surprises.
Now let's head on over to the campground where you'll be pitching your tents. Follow me and stick close.
I shall return to the school then. I'll see you all on the last day of camp. Give it the old college try, boys.
Dwarf's mine in the campsite.
And here we are. This is where you'll be camping for the next 3 days. Before we get to the challenges, you'll need to pitch your own tents. The tents hold 1 to 2 people, and we got plenty of them. Each club can take as many as they need.
We're expected to work from the start. This is more intense than I anticipated.
You have 1 hour to set them up. That might sound like a lot of time, but make sure you don't get cocky. A proper campsite is crucial to protecting yourselves and resting your weary muscles. Will you seek the shelter of trees as a defense from sun and wind? Or will you set up on flat ground so you can rest comfortably? Each club should discuss the options amongst themselves. And feel free to grab a toolbox if you need one. We've got several. Also, I'll be giving our tent pitching MVPs a special reward that'll help with the challenges. And I don't give out freebies lightly, so believe me, you're gonna want these. MVPs? I wonder what he'll be handing out. Who cares? It's probably a set of dumbbells or something.
Well, we can get something that'll help with the challenges, huh?
Oh, I see he's piqued your interest. Will you aim to be our MVP?
I'm good. I'm not really MVP material.
I'm envious that everyone else has had someone to converse with. And here I am, all alone.
Normally, I'd yell at you to stop whining, but that'd be a pretty harsh thing to do to an arts club kid.
Oh no, I had my back to my laptop and I didn't see my Kirby Buck bonus. I don't know
Better get
how
that.
long that's been there.
Yeah.
Everyone, collect your Kirby Buck bonus. Get 50 to 60 Kirby Bucks.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I'll make an exception and put the one-person clubs with other teams. I've already worked out where you'll go. Okay, I'll need to see the Mountain Lovers Club, the Gargoyle Studies Club, and Ortho Shroud. Come talk to me once everyone starts setting up the tents. Is that clear?
I wonder why he wants to talk to me.
Your hour begins now!
Shall we check up on the others?
Yeah, let's stop by each club.
That was a really long chapter.
To be Vargas continued.
Big racket. Horse Mine Campsite. Music at Mountain Lovers Team.
Wait, these are all my characters.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Okay, I'm supposed to insert the main pole into the sleeve. Wait, where's the sleeve? Colleen, we have to lay out the ground sheets first. Otherwise, our tent will flood if it rains. See, because he used to be General Lilia, like in Book 7, so he knows all about... Wait, what are ground sheets? And where are they? Ugh, I can't make head or tails of what kind of voice to do. I've run out of voices.
Hi.
And I don't know how to voice myself. Help!
Okay, good.
Yeah, that sounds literally just like him, but I can't do a distinct voice for this dude, so he's just been kind of like floating.
They're like,
Ooh, I can't make heads or tails of all these tent terms.
that's what I'd do if I had him.
Ooh, I can't make heads or tails of all these tent terms. Ugh. This is gonna take longer than I thought. I'm done over here. Would you like some help? Whoa, already? Are you some kind of camping savant? The Mountain Lovers Club ventures into the mountains on a regular basis. I'm used to setting up a tent. Oh, great. We lucked out big time getting paired up with you then. I'll gladly take some pointers if you're down. I've only been glamping before. Mr. Falling Asleep Cookie Guy, what can you explain to the viewers who may not know what glamping is?
Glamping is going camping and instead of going in a tent with a fire that's burning, you probably have some sort of trailer or even a cabin to sleep in, with usually complete with AC, stove, and refrigerator. Which camping doesn't have any of those things.
Why is it called glamping? What's it conglomeration of?
The combination of glam and camping.
Oh yes, I've heard of that. It's basically camping in style, correct? I hear it's pretty trendy. Yep, you got it. When I did it, all the tents and stuff were set up in advance. I just had to do the fun parts. I even got
Clamorous
pre-made
and
meals.
camping. Says Stick. She's like glamorous and camping. There we go, glamorous. Yes, thank you, Stick.
I even got pre-made meals. I could just kick back and enjoy the stars. That's pretty much what I did. Several years ago, I asked my parents if I could go camping. So they bought a mountain for it. Our staff handled the tent and campfire, and a chef cooked my meals. It was a nice gesture, but I've been hoping to try all that stuff myself, you know? That sounds way different from my experience. In fact, I'd argue you had the glammest glamping trip of all time. That's sure not the kind of camping I'm used to. It sounds so delightfully peaceful. I'm curious, though, Jade. Malleus isn't with you? We're only a 3-man team. I thought for certain he'd get grouped with us as well. Coach Vargas told us which groups to join. He put Malleus with the science club, as I recall.
That's in gargoyle study.
Science and gargoyle study. Another steak has snapped. These tents are surprisingly fragile. My goodness. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that Roi the Dragon can snap a metal peg.
With this strength, break the hammer. Okay. You need to ease up when you swing and mind the angle when you hammer this. And demonstrate.
Yes, please. I'm not entirely familiar with how to handle human tools. The Malleus Draconius here. Trey's just teaching him like he's a regular dude. Isn't he scared?
Good grief. Looks like it'll be a while before we adjust to this. Film Research Club.
No, I got dirt on my hand again. I must wash it post-haste.
Oh, I scratched myself on that metal clip. Now I'll get a scab on my pristine skin.
How did you boys not bring gloves when you knew we were going camping? There are some in the toolbox. You take them. Use this cell in your scratch.
Sorry, sir. And thank you.
Oh, I see. It's made up of 2 layers. The fly. That must be condensation.
Why do you keep cutting out codes?
I don't know.
Or did you try going to the living room?
I was started out there, and that's when you said I was.
Now you're like really cutting out pretty bad. I think you should go back to the living room if that's where you were. It was better before.
About this.
Alright.
You're manually reading through the instructions. Today I see you doing that.
His instructions? Every day that you've seen that.
Wouldn't you just run a structure analysis or scan the instructions? Oh, about that. When Coach Vargas called me over, he told me, you do not need to be ready for the worst when you go camping. Your daily training is what's going to save you then.
Maybe not use the AirPods? I was wondering that. I don't know if it's the connection or the AirPods. But it doesn't help that he moved without telling us, so that means we can't discern whether it was better or not when he was upstairs or not, because he just moved on his own. And I don't even know where he is right now.
Setting up on it.
What? Oh my goodness.
Eventuality.
What is going on? I can barely hear that.
Did you put away the AirPods?
Yes. I put them away and thought that would help.
It was like barely getting anything.
Maybe you can let him borrow like the kind of headphones that have the wire in it and you like speak into the mic.
I don't know if I have a
Yeah,
pair that
that
has his
already.
phone ending. Stick my
This'll work.
What'd you do?
I'm just sitting up, not laying down.
Why were you laying down in the first place?
To get comfortable.
But I'm sitting in my
Yeah, because
chair.
he is sickly.
Six says, what if he used his laptop? That
And then
could
he
work.
added,
I was like
Maybe
well
for
into
next
reading
time.
that chat when you started. But yeah, it might work if he has like the headphones with that mic on it. But I mean, the AirPods should work. I don't know why they would be messing up.
Because that's what happens when you lay down and they're squished between your ear and the pillow.
Just sit up like me, and then that way you wouldn't miss your
Alright.
lines.
I'm sitting up. And then he added, if you want to prepare for any eventuality, you need to limit your functions to what a normal human can do. What did he mean by that? Oh, just to avoid stuff like flying and going online. When you put it that way, I could totally see where he was coming from.
You sound better now. So
There are situations where my capabilities would mean nothing in the face of Mother Nature. My equipment could also break down. So it would be beneficial to proactively train under a simulated worst-case scenario. That's why I'm reading page by page. I'm operating on a scenario where I can't run scans. D. Coach Vargas asked you to lock down any functions that would give us a leg up. That's smart. Oh, if you're fine with it, so am I. Wasn't going to depend on technology out here anyway. I'm good with it. In fact, it feels more like real camping when I limit myself. That makes it more fun. I'm a little worried about my brother, though. He's the very definition of indoorsy. I hope he's not having a hard time. Board Game Club.
it's so bright out. Curse this perfect weather. I have zero motivation right now. My tablet got confiscated, and I don't care about being some stupid MVP. This pin's not going in the poll, but they're supposed to go together. Are these ones just effective? Soul's really going all out for some reason. Maybe I could get him to set up my tent too.
You okay there, Soul? We're both gonna be using the tent, so I'm happy to help.
Thank you, but no. The instructions say only one person is required to set up the tent. I'm doing this for a reason, so please allow me to continue on my own. He's making a big racket, too. Wait. Oh man, are you the kind of guy who dreams of roughing it in the woods or something? Sticks and stones, Idia. You'll see why I'm doing this soon enough.
Boy, are those guys struggling. Gotta report everything back to Vargas, right? What a hassle.
It's our job to make sure things are accurate.
Maybe I'd feel more like working if they gave us something for our time. Lousy cheapskates.
And time! A few tents look a little lumpy, but aside from that, you've all managed to set them up. All clubs passed. Barely. Now to announce our MVPs.
Who do you think the MVPs are? Name one.
Who was that? Jade.
What's your guess?
Yes.
You can't
Your
double on the
character.
J. Who else?
He says plural, so there's gonna be at least two.
Zill.
After looking over Ewan Grimm's report, the students who really stepped up are... Clover, Leech, Schoenheit, and Ashen Grotto. Oh, I didn't expect Azul. The other
Both
one's
of you got one.
Yeah. I didn't expect Trey or Azul, though.
Wait, me? I thought I was super slow.
I'm honored, Coach Vargas.
Clover, Leech, and Schoenheit, you all pitched your tent swiftly, correctly, and efficiently. You also demonstrated solid teamwork by helping your fellow students. That's how I evaluated you. As for Ashen Grotto, you were clearly out of your element and didn't show much skill. But you engaged your muscles and worked up a magnificent sweaty sheen, more so than anyone else. This is in recognition of your efforts. Thank you kindly, Coach Vargas. Wait a minute. Is that why you were going all out with the tent? Just so Coach Vargas would see you working hard? A bit late on the uptake, but you got there. Oh, but you got there. Strenuous effort and sweat are what score points with people like Vargas.
Oh, what are these special rewards then? Given that Coach Vargas chose them, I'm more scared than excited to be honest.
All right, settle down. Your rewards are full camping outfits. Take 5, everyone. MVPs, come pick out your outfits and go get changed. To be continued.
Are you excited to see their MVP outfits?
Mhm.
Yes.
Vargas badges,
That's a good name.
Dwarf's Mine campsite.
Oh man, I'm so jelly of Trey and the other MVPs. If I'd known sweet camping duds were on the line, I'd try way harder.
Perhaps we took it a bit too easy. Hey, looks like they're all changed.
Here we go.
Just like his brother.
Oh.
Here I am. How do I look? You look totally styling. What a chic ensemble. That delight pop of blue on your bag really elevates it. Wait, I forgot what Floyd's looked like. I need to go back. I think he had a bag too, though.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yes, the blue part's actually made of a reflective fabric. It's important to make sure you're visible when you're on a mountain. The jacket is also very durable. It won't get torn on branches or thorns.
What's the little keychain on your bag? Don't tell me that ensemble came with accessories.
That's mine, actually. Isn't it adorable?
Whoa. Hey.
Woo!
Wow. Very nice, Phil Schoenheit. You look fantastic. I was worried that any outfit Coach Vargas picked would focus on performance over style. I expected it to look like a potato sack. I prefer not to compromise my style, even in the great outdoors. So for my outer layer, I chose this loose-fitting coat. The playful colors allow the wearer to tap into their innate essence, which is now liberated by nature. But let's not forget about the performance features either. These clothes were designed for strenuous activity, They allow one to lift heavy things with ease and act as a barrier against the wind. I have to say, I'm impressed, though the overall aesthetic reminds me of Professor Quirrell's tastes. Perhaps he helped Coach Vargas pick everything out.
Clever. I'm clever. Wearing this makes me feel like camping won't be so bad after all. Well, someone's excited. Did you pick that out yourself, Azul? Yes, there were a number of options, so I was able to select something that fits my style. I guess it does match your cool, clever vibe. The colors are nice enough, and I'm a big fan of the octopus logo on the front. I appreciate the boldness of putting an octopus, a sea creature, on land-based outdoor wear. Dude, who else would that resonate with besides you? There's no way they got that off the rack. Looks good though, don't get me wrong. If I'd known I could have scored some gear from this, I would have gone full sweaty. Man, if only I'd actually tried. Somehow, I doubt you would have been selected even if you had.
Full sweaty. Mhm.
Yeah. Très bien! You all look like beautiful, graceful butterflies fluttering about.
Wait, where's Trey? Still changing?
The star of the show always arrives fashionably late. And look, here's our star now.
Rook, please, why do you have to hype me up like that?
Cool. Hey, hat.
No need to make a fuss. I'm not looking to get attention, but look at these drip.
What does his hat say?
Let's paint the roses red.
That kind of goes hard.
It's a Riddle reference because he misses Riddle.
Yeah. Riddle hat. I just realized his clover is kind of like Keaton's music notes on his face.
Oh yeah. Did you already read this?
Yeah.
Oh la la! What a shame it is for you to stand there hunched over when you're wearing such a flattering ensemble. A vivid green evocative of fresh leaves with a bright accent of rose red. How truly emblematic of the Chevalier des Roses.
Wow, not sure how to respond to such generous compliments.
Rook's right on the money. Looking good, Trey. That outfit's giving new sporty life vibes. Gotta show this to Riddle. Oh, wait, right. No phone. You, Grimmy, make sure to snap a pic of Trey.
You bet.
That face, I don't see that
Hey, cut it out. You don't have to listen to him.
Yeah.
Yeesh. What good's a picture of just me? This is so embarrassing. You should at least take a group pic.
We're all showering you with compliments and you don't believe us? Ouch.
No, it's not that. I just get really uncomfortable when I'm the center of attention. You're all in your regular PE gear and I stick out like a sore thumb. Might as well wear a huge sign that says MVP.
Why does that bother you? You've earned the honor with your knowledge and skill. Hold your head high, Clover.
I'll try.
Okay, break time's over. It's time to go over what you'll be doing at this camp. Listen up and listen good. As you progress through the challenges... that sound effect. I thought it was like a follow notification or something. As you progress through the challenges, you'll earn Vargas badges. When you finish a challenge, report to a ghost. They'll verify you completed it and give you a badge. You'll have 7 challenges to do over these 3 days. If you earn all 7 Vargas badges, then your club passes. And if you don't get all 7, well, you don't need me to spell it out, right?
Mandatory club transfer. That doesn't sound like a lot of challenges, but I guess we can't relax until we know how hard they are.
So, you're all clear on how this works? Great! Then I'll go over your 3 challenges for today. First, survival! You'll need a safe environment to get through the next 3 days, and it's your job to make one. You're to gather firewood from the forest, build a campfire, and light it.
That should be our first priority. Fire is essential for cooking, staying warm, and much more besides.
We have to start a fire. That's not really my forte. Doing so without magic will be quite difficult. Second, sustenance. You gotta learn about the ecosystem around the mine and scrounge up some grub. You'll catch fish from the lake and preserve them.
We have to preserve the fish? Sounds tough. I never make my own meals. Fishing is no small task either. We may wish to tackle that challenge first.
Nice. Third, education. Put that book learning into practice and glean some new insights. You'll be going down an assigned tunnel in the mine and digging up a mage stone. Each mage stone must be at least 1 cubic centimeter and weigh at least 3 grams. Any fragments smaller than that will not count.
Oh no!
The locations for each of these tasks are marked on a map you received with your instructions. You can finish them in any order with any of your club members. You can come borrow fishing rods and pickaxes from me when you need them. You have till sunset to finish all 3 challenges and get your badges. I've told the ghost to be lenient with the judging this time around, but you'll get the same workout as the sports clubs. So get ready to work those muscles! Your challenges start now! Come on!
Okay.
I said now!
Let's see. Which one should we start with?
I'm a dab hand at securing food and starting fires. What say we save those for later and start with the mage stone?
Good call. I'm sure none of us have any mining experience, so we should get that out of the way first.
Agreed. But I'm also curious to see what it's like inside the mining tunnels.
It's kind of like we're tourists.
And why not, when we've come to such a lovely place? I say we enjoy the scenery as we make our way to the mine.
Okay, time for us to get to work too.
To be grim to
Because we're watching. I'll be
Vargously
motivated.
motivated.
Where are they at?
Dwarf's Mine Forest.
Code's mine.
Shoo, shoo! Man, this forest is crawling with bugs.
What about the bug spray?
Oh, hey, there's a film research club. What's up, boys?
If it isn't our record keepers, you've picked an unfortunate time to check on us. If yourself, we're supposed to be gathering firewood, but we've got nowhere.
Stupid bugs. They just keep coming, no matter how many times I move or shoo them away. Ah! Bug! Please don't bite me!
It's been a lot of that. Really now, what are you boys doing? Did you not even think to bring bug spray? The Film Research Club works outside all the time. Wearing sunblock is a given, as should be protecting oneself from bug bites. I've never gotten a bug bite before, but the itchiness sounds unbearable. Being itchy isn't about the issue. What's worse is that the bite can swell up and turn red. Sometimes it can even leave scars.
Itchy is part of it, though.
Yeah.
This club is such a handful. Hold on a moment.
Why
Hi,
didn't
Bill.
Bill sound?
He had some helium.
This club is such a handful. Hold on a moment.
He
That's
still
still
has
not
helium.
Oh. I was looking at Ortho. This club
Yeah.
is such a handful. Hold on a moment.
What you doing in the grass?
Picking some herbs, peppermint and thyme are good for cooking, of course. They can also work as bug repellents. We don't have time to trek back to the tents for bug spray. Rub these between your hands and put the oil on your skin.
Whoa, it's so cool and refreshing. I hope this is enough to keep the bugs away.
Mosquitoes are drawn to the smell of perspiration. You may wish to smear mud on
Mud!
the parts of your body that get particularly sweaty.
Codes, can you believe you just said mud?
You can't. How did he get another cameo?
I think I'll pass on the mud. How could he? Why would he pass on mud? That's so mean.
Come on, just slap some on. It'd be a hoot seeing your face is all muddy.
Really? I'd be happy to put some on you as well. Here, tilt your head up.
Ah, no thanks. You stay away from me.
Why, if it isn't the Film Research Club and our diligent record keepers?
Board Game Club. Hello there. Are you gathering firewood as well?
We we've split up as it happens. It's more efficient to work on all 3 challenges in parallel.
So is Idia fishing or mining?
Actually... Yo, Azul! Check out this stick! It's totally OP. It's gotta be 50 SCR easy! Oh, yes, quite OP. Which is why you shouldn't swing it around like that. As you can see, he's gathering firewood with mind-boggling fervor.
Yeah, it's fine. This tweet popped off a little bit ago when this story was going on for Idia's English voice actor. Like, he posted a picture and he's like, I forgot the caption, but it was just basically like, look at my giant stick, and he had a giant stick. So someone said like character, like voice actor, whatever, and it was really funny.
Oh, yeah.
I'll try to find it.
What happened there?
He looked pale as a ghost when we left the school. Wonder what brought about this change of heart.
Who knows? Certainly not me. Quite frankly, it's weirding me out, so I'm keeping a safe distance. I figured he'd dig in his heels and refuse to do any work. I'm glad to have been proven wrong, but still.
Idia's having a blast. It looks like he'll just be just fine without me. What an enigma he is. Oh well, no matter. Film Research Club, we have firewood together. We should get the easy work over and done with.
Thatcher just moved on.
I
We
didn't
have
want
more
to.
time for the other challenges. Dwarf's Mine Campsite.
We got mad firewood gathering skills. Now to get the campfire going. You're oddly motivated, Idia. Do you even know how to start a fire? Please, watch and learn. First, you break up some dry leaves, unravel some jute twine, and you make a nest with them. That's your tinder. Next, you strike your flint and make sure the sparks land on the fibers.
Wait, do the sports clubs get flint?
Maybe this is one way they have it easier.
Oh, I get ya. Yeah, that'll definitely help.
Use dried leaves, strike the flint. Hey, it really made sparks! See that, everyone? Isn't it cool? Now put the tinder around the coals and blow on it slowly and carefully. Easy does it now. Your level of condescension is rather irksome, but I'll play along since you're so confident. Phoo, phoo. My, that actually worked. I must say, Idia, I'm impressed. I was a bit concerned when you took over so suddenly, but you're surprisingly knowledgeable about camping. Well, Obs, Never underestimate all the useful info you can learn from Primo's official show. I'm sorry, Primo? The Precipice Morai, my favorite idol group. Primo for short. Primo. I don't know how to say it. You could try to remember it. I hooked you up with some of their music before. Music? Oh, you mean those 10 CDs you bought for the purchase bonus, then subsequently shoved in my arms? Wow, rude. Didn't cost you any money, right? Anyway, what's this official show? It's an educational show they stream online, where the 3 Primo members test the limits of their stamina. Mountain climbing, canoeing, free diving. They do wild stuff that keeps the viewers in suspense, wondering if they'll ever keel over. By the way, my talk rec is camping time, Primo goes canoeing, foot hilarity ensues. You won't want to miss this! Well, that explains your unusual degree of enthusiasm. You wanted to reenact something your favorite idol group did. How absurd. It's so absurd, I'm actually impressed. Oh well, regardless of your motivation, you handled your job with aplomb. Thank you for the help, Idia.
Hey, I spy a campfire. You passed the challenge. Here's your Vargas badge.
Yay. That's one down. Let's move on, shall we? I'm beat. I'm gonna take a quick break. You're delusional if you think that's going to fly with me.
How can you be tired? All I did was tell the other guys what to do. How's it going with you guys? I said, how's it going with you guys?
It wasn't hard with the tools they gave us. I wouldn't exactly say it was easy, though. All in all, that firewood was quite a workout.
Olo.
Did you say hmm?
Hmm. Yeah.
What the what?
Oh, a fairy. It's like Groot.
Yeah.
What's this fairy doing? They appear to be threatening us.
Oh yeah, the fairies around here get all bent out of shape and attack you when you start fires.
Oh my goodness. Throlin says, I was almost fully asleep until I got ear blasted by my phone from a Discord call. Who was calling Throlin? Was it
Didn't.
Poor Throlin, he's like, ugh! Jolted awake. Better have been an important call, Throlin, that's all I'm saying.
Why didn't you tell me sooner?
Battle time! Oh.
Fuel efficiency, horse mine, campsite.
Wait. Get me out of here. Wait, no.
What are you doing?
Help.
Codes, can you control it
I didn't mean to do that. How do I get out of here?
You have to leave, you have to go through the entire story.
No way.
Just tap it. Tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it.
Okay.
There we go. Throlin says, my brother was calling to play Arc Raiders, but sleep was also calling my name. Were you listening to the stream as you were falling asleep, or were you just laying there? But are you gonna play? Are you gonna play with them? Sounds like a fun time. But it's also understandable if you need to take some rest.
Okay, wait. Where's...
I was laying in
there's
bed
so
with...
much...
Oh, yeah?
You can read it.
Roland says, I was laying in bed already with the stream still going on my computer. I'm highly debating on playing. Yeah, and I know the feeling of, you know, wanting to get that good night of sleep. If I were you, I would say I would go for sleep, because you can always play another time, but I think you'll feel better after a nice rest if sleep was calling your name.
Why isn't it just, like, easy to navigate?
What do you mean?
The website.
Oh.
Here. Okay, I found it.
Why'd you look up only time?
It's a good song.
Can you sing a good part of it?
What was it?
Was that Rowley?
Where?
Did I see Rowley's face for a split second? I knew it. Look, Codes, it's 4 hours long.
Oh.
Aw.
No spoilers.
Fine.
Go to Camp Chaos.
We gotta see the battle.
Even if it's a little low quality.
Yeah.
あまり手荒なことはしたくないんだけどな。
Oh yeah, you're artificially making it 2 times speed.
まただ。異論もない。無理をしてもいいことはない。かかってこいよ。いざ。お、かしこまり。
Oh, they have the tray from this set?
Yeah.
レベル上げが足りてないっすわ。
Okay.
David is kinda aswa.
Ah.
Can we read Trials of Romance?
I didn't get all of them. We'd have to go online.
Aww. Throwin the third.
Thorlin referred to himself as Thorlin the Third one time.
Do you remember when?
And a Snapchat story. Or I mean, not like a Snapchat video to me. He was like, "It is I, Throlin," and there was like a pause. The third.
Nice. That's epic.
Okay, we've managed to shoo them away for the time being.
Why'd they attack us though? Wait, what about Throlin the Third? He heard.
You referred to yourself as Throlin the Third one time in a Snapchat video to me.
I can totally hear you saying it too.
That was really funny.
Yeah, he's a great guy, yeah? That's what I heard. Pretty cool guy.
What was the reason again?
They tried to put out our fire as well. I imagine it's because of the forest fire that happened here in the past.
Oh, yes, we learned about that in class. Back when the mine was still active. The miner's campfire accidentally sparked a massive blaze in the woods. After that, the fairies around here started calling embers red flowers. I remember there was another story that had red flowers. I remember that.
Oh yeah. The red flowers that were draining their magic.
Yeah, I remember that too. We totally went over it in class.
If they're afraid of fire, they might come back and try to put ours out again. We need the campfire to stay warm at night, and starting another one would be tricky. We better keep an eye out. True, but we can't just hover around the fire indefinitely.
Thorlin says, the reason why I'm throwing the third is because Mud took the first two.
Oh,
Yeah, that would make sense. You, without any regard to, to you, he just took 2 Throlin slots. That's kind of messed up. But at least you claimed Throlin the third, because that actually has a pretty nice ring to it, I will admit.
Leader.
I say we post a few lookouts here and focus on finishing the remaining challenges.
Yes, sir! Hey, I got our campfire covered. I'll keep a close eye on it. Very well. I'll leave you to it, Idia. However, I ask that you keep the fire as small as possible while it's warm and sunny out. We have to save on firewood where we can. Foraging for more wood would be a task in and of itself, and I'd prefer not to waste our energy. So whatever you do, please do not get carried away and make the fire bigger. Make sure you properly manage it. No problem, Bob. If there's anything I'm good at, it's fuel efficiency.
For someone who's allergic to camping, it's real big into campfires.
Or maniac.
Yeah.
How luxurious.
How grimjurious.
Dwarf's mine on Lakeside.
Let's see how the fishing's going. I want some tuna.
hey you. Hey Grim. Here to check up on us?
Fish biting?
Are the Bogos binted?
I've had no luck whatsoever. I've got the bait on right, but it's just not baiting. Likewise, I'm at my best when the weather's this perfect. It's a good thing we have Jade.
Black Cloud.
I just caught my 5th fish. We'll want another 30 if we need to make 3 days worth of meals and also preserve some of them.
Jade's fishing with the pole, huh? Floyd just hopped in the water and caught his by hand.
By hand? Oh, was he in Murph form?
That sounds fun. I'd love to go for a swim in the lake.
That sounds very much like him. I imagine he found catching the fish one at a time too tedious. I won't be doing that, though. I'm here to enjoy the mountains after all.
Posture time.
This isn't just a lake, it's a mountain lake. Simply sitting here by the water lets me soak in the atmosphere. Basking in the sun's rays, listening to the rustling of the trees, casting a line into the water and waiting. How luxurious.
Those brothers are like night and day sometimes.
Absolutely, Jade. Moments like these are what make the mountains so charming. I'd enjoy it more if I could catch something, of course.
Is there some trick we're missing? We're all using the same rods and bait. Oh, it's simple. You just need to consider the fish's feelings. Huh?
What are you on about?
To put it another way, you need to understand how the fish behave in their environment. From what I can see, there are a lot of nocturnal fish in this lake. During the day, they lurk in the shadows of plants and rocks. You have an easier time catching them if you focus on those spots.
Oh, I see. I've been casting my line right into the middle of the lake where it's sunny.
Also, while many nocturnal fish are nearsighted, they can see movement exceptionally well. So, bob your rod and draw attention to your bait, but do so slowly. Sudden movements could scare them off.
Oh, I've never considered a fish's eyesight before.
All right, let's put these tips to the test. Cast it into the shade, move slowly. I got a bite! Now wait a moment before you start reeling it in. That way, the hook is more likely to catch on the fish.
I'm gonna try too. Maybe this would be a good spot.
Huh? Wait, was that a rock? My fish swam away right when I was about to reel it in.
Maybe one of the other clubs finished early and are goofing off?
That's no human. Look, over there. Fairy? They threw the rock?
Have we done something to upset them?
No, it looks like they're taunting us rather than attacking. They'll impede our progress if we let them be, though. I suggest we chase them off.
Sorry, Fairy, but you're gonna have to go somewhere else.
Optical? Dwarf's Mine, Lakeside.
Throwing.
Basketball, ace.
Nice.
And the Harvest and Jade.
He's not dressed
The
for
Apple
occasion.
event.
Hey, they chose that. What if he throws the ball at them? Aw, he's like finally dressed now. Why does he get to have his pickaxe? Oh, he chose the other ace. Are there any comments on that video?
It's good.
No. I believe we've chased the fairies off. Phew! Really wears you out when you can't use magic, huh?
At least we can focus on our challenge now. Come, let us cast our lines.
Oh, nice fish. Plastic fish.
How's it going, boys? Getting any nibbles? KK's got 7 fish so far.
Whoa.
I've got 9, which I'd say is passable enough. I've got 5. I'm doing way better thanks to Jade's advice. Then we'll be done with the challenge as soon as we preserve the fish. There are so many ways we could do that. What should we go with?
Ziploc bags.
Well, we could do we could put them in Ziploc bags. We could do sun drying, brining, oil packing. There's a myriad of preservation techniques. Oh, yeah. Might I suggest smoking the fish? What does that involve? You put the food in a container with burning wood chips. The smoke permeates it and imparts extra flavor. One could say that eating something that's been infused with smoke from tree wood is like getting a taste of the mountain itself. I studied up on the method before we came here in hopes that I might have the opportunity to try it. I would handle the preparations and the cleanup as well. Come now, doesn't some nice smoked fish sound delicious? Of course it does.
Yeah.
Whoa, easy, my dude. Nobody's saying no. How could I possibly deny such a passionate request? It sounds cool, actually. I've bought different kinds of smoked foods before, but making our own could be fun. For sure. Let's do it.
Your find complete.
The smoker you built is quite impressive, Jade. It's made of wood, yet it's not quite catching fire. And the way it fits with the camping aesthetic is totes cammable. Man, I'd be taking so many pics if I had my phone. It's hardly anything worth going on about. I just repurposed some scrap wood I found lying around. I think it's been smoked for long enough. Let's open it and see what we've got. Ooh, the fish are all golden brown now. Yes, smoking fish gives it a most pleasant color and luster. Doesn't it look appetizing? The mushrooms and nuts you threw in turned out
Ew.
nicely as well. Yum! Turned out nicely as well. I'd call this a smashing success.
I was on board until he put nuts in the fish. Why is Lilia so twisted?
I think it tastes good.
It's because he has that weird hat on. It's like making him think weird that like nuts are
Yeah.
good on fish.
That's the only bad thing about Lilia is that hat he wears.
You should cosplay it.
Come on, does it really get that much better just from dumping it in some smoke?
Skeptical Grim. In that case, why not try it for yourself?
Okay, here goes nothing.
Super Grim.
Hey now, that's good! It's salty with a nice herby aroma. And the fish is all tender too.
The aroma comes from the herbs we used in the brining liquid before we began smoking the fish. And the meat is tender because smoking fish at high temperatures for a short time preserves a bit of moisture. Not ideal for long-term storage, but should be sufficient for 3 days.
Great boy. I was not expecting anyone to smoke their fish. You even made your own smoker.
You're more than earned this Vargas badge. Make sure to keep it up with your next challenges.
Why did they get another voice actor for the second line?
Because it was a different one, I thought.
No, still Ghost B the whole time.
They couldn't afford the same voice actor, so they had to outsource it.
It's called a strike. We have rights too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The second voice was a strike line person. He walked the strike.
Yeah.
much obliged. Here, you. There's plenty more fish to go around. I mean, smoked fish.
Woohoo!
Now all that's left is to mine a mage stone. I suppose we won't be able to coast on this one.
Yeah, it's just straight up physical labor. Not the biggest fan of that, but there's only one way to do it.
Ah, yeah. Gotta get back to reporting, too.
Try some of the nuts, Grim. I followed Jade's directions and kept an eye on them the whole time they were cooking. It's amazing that smoking makes them so good.
It appears we'll be stuck here a while longer.
To be continued.
Grim doesn't like nuts. Do you really?
Where are they at?
Dwarf's Mine Interior.
Hey, it's chicken time.
Hey, it's check on. Sorry.
Wait, what?
What the?
Sorry.
How did you? What was this strange Grim voice? They couldn't hire the original actor again, so it was this other Grim. And he reads the lines wrong. He said check on.
Hey, it's chicken time. Find any mage stones yet?
Oh, hey, Grim and you. We haven't found a single one so far. You might have to go a little further in.
Why is that?
Mage stones are gemstones. They have absorbed some power from their environment. When you look for them, you're supposed to trace the faint magical power they emanate. But even if we can identify where they are, they'll still be embedded in solid rock. We can't dig through that.
There's even evidence of scraping on these walls, though. Oh. There's evidence of scraping on these walls, though, which indicates there was once a layer of softer, more weathered rock on top.
Remember the sports club guys were digging all over this area when they were camping here.
Right?
That would explain it. Then it sounds like we should give up on the entrance and go further down the tunnels.
But is it safe down there? There are some potential dangers, such as lower levels of oxygen or perhaps gas leaks from the bedrock.
I don't think we have to worry about that stuff. The gases that come up from this kind of bedrock generally aren't harmful to people at low concentrations. Plus, did you notice how we can feel a little airflow in here, even though there's no breeze outside? Pretty sure this tunnel was built with proper ventilation.
I don't know. I just don't feel safe assuming all that without being sure.
Well, if you're that worried, we could bring some torches with us.
Oh, I get ya. A little fire will brighten things up and make the whole place less scary.
That's true. That's not the only reason I suggested it. We can use the fire to measure if there's enough oxygen.
How does that work?
Yuki-Ann, hello.
Oh,
Welcome
hello.
in.
I saw you streamed earlier, but I was out, so I couldn't watch it. I couldn't tune in, but I did see the notification. Yuki-Ann is live. How you're doing? We're reading some Twisted Stories, Camp Vargas 2. And right now, they're in a cave searching for mage stones. They have to get one that's at least like a cubic centimeter and 3 grams or something like that. Or else it does not count.
Okay, so fire needs oxygen to burn, right? If the torch burns a different way than usual, that's a pretty good indicator that something's weird with the oxygen levels.
Interesting.
Yuki says, oh, okay. I'm doing
Also,
okay.
the gases in mines like these product.
Oh, okay. I'm doing okay. And how are you guys? I'm pretty good. Whoa, how did it teleport to 12:15?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. It was like just like 11:20. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I have to get up early tomorrow, so we can't stay up too late. But alas, we'll plan on going for a little bit longer. Glad you're doing okay.
Well, this is the second to last that I was planning
Okay.
because it'll be the end of book 2.
Oh, perfect.
Also,
Did
the
you-
gases in
go
mines
ahead.
like these produce water when you burn them. But we'd need a bottle to test that, and sadly, we didn't bring any.
Oh, but I did, Trey. By all means, use this.
Hey, a glass vial. Thanks, Rook. Surprisingly well prepared.
I was going to use it to collect any unusual creatures I came across.
Oh,
Trey?
Jake?
okay. Well, I can do a demonstration. You fill the vial with air from the tunnel, and you hold it over the flame. Based on the reaction, we can narrow down what kind of vapor is in the vial. You see, Grim?
Sure do. Sure do.
Okay.
Sure
Do
do.
you really?
Not at all.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I tried to explain it in a way you'd understand, but I guess it didn't help. Teaching is hard.
That was me
I'm
during.
so lost.
That was me during Iron Lung.
Same.
I thought it was an excellent overview, Trey.
Thanks. Okay, we should make some torches first. There's plenty of wood outside, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Wait a minute. I don't see Malleus. Wasn't he on your team?
Oh, if you're looking for Malleus, he...
He just died.
Oh, Throlin has a comment.
You mean Peak Lung? Yeah, it was. I can see where you're coming from. I'm sure if I understood all the dialogue and the lore behind it, it would be Peak Lung. What do you think that huge explosion was, Cookie Guy?
It's called Malleus Overblock.
Oh!
Malleus is overblotting here.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful putting up tents.
Whoa! What was that?
Oh no, is it a cave-in?
Okay, calm down. If this is really a cave in, we need to make as little noise as possible. Luckily, nothing's collapsed over here. But just to be safe, let's cover our heads and make our way outside.
Why do you all look so panicked? Did something happen?
Oh, hey, Malleus.
What do you mean, did something happen? Did you hear the cave-in just now?
Cave-in? Oh, that was me.
I was right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Our task is to acquire a mage stone that is at least 1 cubic centimeter and weighing 3 grams, yes? I dug one up in the location you were just discussing.
Ah,
Wow, you don't even have a pickaxe. Did you just punch through the wall or something?
Yes. Is there an issue with that?
No, just. Wow. You really are something else, Malleus.
Marvelous! Hats off to you, Roy the Dragons! Now our challenge is complete. I'd like to take a bit of a stroll through these tunnels. Here, the mage stone is yours.
Okay, sure, I'll turn it into the ghosts.
The Wally hit is totally destroyed. Talk about powerful. Oh wait, is that it? The whole gas lecture was pointless then.
As long as we completed the challenge. Come on, let's get back to camp.
One moment, if you would. I believe we have some visitors who are rather displeased. Uh-oh.
Hey,
Eek! The bats!
No, those are berries? Where'd they even come from?
I couldn't say, but I suspect they won't simply let us pass by. Their eyes are clamped on our mage stone.
what do you think about that fairy tree?
The fairy tree.
No,
The fairy
Or-
tree.
that fairy
Yeah, I don't know.
tree.
Yeah, I don't know.
Read.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, grief. I prefer not to fight, but we can't just give it to them either. Looks like we're gonna have to prioritize a challenge and chase them off.
Night Raving College.
A sound plan. Source mine interior.
I got lots of good cards.
Oh, really?
つまらなくて
he
The
has a fishing
two
rod.
event.
訓練のせいいいよやるな大丈夫えい見かけより甘くなかったかな
Lunch plan. Dwarf spine interior. Phew. I admit I was worried at first, but we managed to drive him off.
Now we have but to present our mage stone to the ghosts.
Right, let's go find them. Grim, why are you latched onto my leg?
No reason.
Hey.
What are you doing, Pastra?
Well, first I was like, hoping he would say something if I moved on, and then I went to go hit log, and then I accidentally missed the hitbox for log, which then moved on Grim. So this is what I was trying to. Ghost C, you're up.
You called.
Why do you guys always pop up behind me?
They got you again.
I'm getting sick of this.
Sorry. You just have the funniest reactions. Oh, you boys have mined yourselves a mage stone.
Yeah. Yes. Have a look.
This meets all the requirements.
Ghost C, wake back up.
Here you go, then. One Vargas badge for your team. Ching.
Merci.
Drake.
Now, that one's down. Let's go help with the other challenges.
A sound plan. You and Malleus saved us a great deal of time. It would be a waste not to capitalize on it.
Are we just gonna leave Malleus here?
He'll be fine on his own, but we should probably let him know where we're going. Oh, yes. We're leaving.
He ain't answering.
Maybe he's gone so far he can't in. Maybe he's gone so far in he can't hear us.
I've no doubt he'll be fine. He's stronger than any of us, remember? I imagine he'll be back by the time the sun sets.
You're probably right. Malleus is the last guy we need to worry about.
Malleus Sama.
I can't back out. It's stuck loading forever.
Way to go, me. Heart, way to go, me, so we can easily see which one to go back to.
All right. So, what do you think of the parts that you were awake for, Mr. Codesman?
It was riveting.
What kinds of things
Can you say
happen?
some of what happened?
好きな授業を選ぶ
Yeah. They found a stone, a gemstone, and
務めよ
it got evaluated. They said, "This is good."
Mm-hmm.
良い授業であった。これぞ学園生活だな。
All right. Say goodnight to
う
Overblock
弱い
Malleus.
存在が結びついて
And I know about Malleus.
Well, I
He's
suppose he
clearly losing it. He
overblotted.
punched
言葉の意味をようやく
because he was stressed about camping. He's used to
Aw.
glamping,
Oh
and
no.
he had to go super basic. It's stressful.
That makes sense. Alrighty, y'all. Thanks for coming to the stream, and we will read some more stories soon. And we'll see if anything crazy happens with the Vargas.
And the ghost.
Yes, very true. Alrighty. See you around Roland, Yuki, Stick, Aru. Thank you all for coming. Good job, and see you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully I'll be able to catch your next stream, but I might be out again. We'll see. But if you find yourself overblotting in a cave because you're stressed about camping, then you take care.
Take care.
out there.
you